Hi everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello. So yesterday we looked at using a pivot table to create this second report. So did you find anything specific using which we could, well, where is that gone? Create this? Did you find anything specific? Or were you able to check? Morning. Was anybody able to check anything?
So we can put the city's name in the filter and the hospital, the number of hospitals in the values.
Right. So let's try what you just said. So we want to create a third report. So I'm going to take this. I am going to insert a pivot. We want to say this is and you want to put what? City in?
The city in the filters
Okay.
and the hospitals in values.
Hospitals in provide a name.
Yes, sir.
You want me to filter on a city?
Yeah. Like the city we want, we can get the number.
Yeah, but you're getting 40.
That's the number of hospitals for the city.
No, that is not the number of hospitals for the city. So if I filter on drain, you see the provider name is only one. There's only one provider in the city. There are not 40 providers in the city. So here, if you remember, what we did was we removed the duplicates. Yeah, we removed the duplicates in this data when we pasted it over here, right?
Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah.
I cannot directly use that. I cannot directly use this. All right. So what I'm going to do is when I create the pivot, so depending on the version of Excel you have, you should see this option. Add this data to the data model. In when you're creating the pivot, you will see this option, add this data to the data model. All right. But before I show you what is the use of that, just give me a second. So I'm going to check over here in the values. Is there any field which I can leverage? So I have count, average, max, product, standard deviation. There's nothing I can really use. Okay. I'm going to just copy this name. All right. And I'm going to, we said, let's put city in the filter, provider name in the values. When I click on value settings over here, at the bottom, I see this distinct count, which was not there earlier. So I see this distinct count. Okay, now if I filter on a city, Now if I filter on a city, I get this. Make sense? Got it? And if I want to look at all the, if I want to remove the filter, I put it over here. Yeah, so I get all the names that I want. So Detroit has 6 hospitals. Pontiac has 3. Understood? If I use that option of adding to the data model, I get this option of distinct count. Otherwise, I'm not getting that distinct count. Understood? Here, I don't see that option. So I cannot really get the distinct count, by the way. Why is this becoming 0? Weird. There's nothing I can use from here. Makes sense. But here, in the second pivot, I am able to use whatever I want to. Okay? Hope that's clear. Any questions, guys? So we understood 2 ways in which we can calculate this. So I'm not sure if you can you guys see if you have that option of when you're creating a pivot, do you see add to data model? Do you see that? Can you check that?
No, sir, I don't have it.
Okay. So it probably is an older version of Excel. That is why you don't have that. Anybody else has this option, add this to data model?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. So you should be able to use this.
Sir, what have you taken the values for the distinct count in the pivot?
You can take provider name.
I've taken. Okay.
Distinct count of provider name.
Sir, so how are you finding the distinct count? From where do you get to that option?
When you created the pivot, did you see the option of
Yeah, I
add?
had add to data model. I had
Yeah, so here, what you need to do when you click in values, click on that field, value field
value
settings,
field settings. Okay,
and in the bottom you'll see over here distinct count.
okay, got it, sir. Thank you.
So I don't have a distinct count tab in my value field settings.
Did you check that box of add to data model?
No, sir, I did not see that. Can you show it once again?
When you're adding the pivot, go to insert, add pivot. Here, do you see this option, add this data to the data model?
Okay, sir, I'll check it out. No, sir, I don't have that option. Add the data to the data model.
Yeah, you'll not be able to use this.
Okay.
Those who have, were they able to try this?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, now let's try and see one more way in which we can create this first report. Alright, now notice what column we want. We want provider name, provider ID, provider state, total discharges, and sum of average covered charges. So I'm just going to copy those fields in another tab. So I'm taking provider name, provider ID, provider state, total discharges, total average covered charges. Okay, I have just copied these columns that I wanted. I'm remove it here. I'm going to say report 1, method 2. I have all these columns. I mean, I'm not working on the formatting. I'm just going to see how I can get this data pretty easily. We got that. This is one way. We'll also look at how we can. We'll also see if we can create this report using a pivot table. All right. So let's see. Let's first try this. So I have copied all this data over here. Now what I am going to use is a inbuilt feature of, where is it? Yes, Excel. So if you go to data, you should see an option for this group, ungroup or subtotal. It's there in outline, but if you have a different version of Excel, you might just see that option directly, subtotal. So what I want to do is I want to add a subtotal. Okay, let's first try this without doing anything to this data. I am going to select this range. I go to outline. I click on subtotal. When I click on subtotal, I see this pop up where it tells me where do I add a subtotal. So I can add a subtotal at change in each provider name. So what's going to happen is at change in each provider name is going to add a subtotal. Make sense? Whenever the name changes, a total is going to get added over here. Let me just show that to you so it makes sense. And it's going to use the function sum. I can use different functions over here. Okay, I can use sum, I can use average if I want to, I can use count if I want to. So I'm going to use sum, and for summing the value of total discharges and average cover charges. I have kept this replace current subtotals. If there are any subtotals which are present in the Excel, it's going to replace them, and summary below the data. So it's going to add a summary as well. So I'm just going to click OK and we'll see what happens. Okay, it might take some time to create that. So it's taking some time, and we'll understand why it's taking so much time, by the way. Do you see what's happened? We added a subtotal. What is done? At the change in every provider name, it has added a subtotal. But is this what we want? Do you think this is what we want? I am getting a subtotal at the change of every provider name. Practically, I am getting the same value over here. I am getting total discharges, average cover charges, the same, the sum of that. Why do you think this is happening? Or rather, what do you think I should do to fix this? Any thoughts? Crow is giving some background music. Any idea why this is happening? You understood what I did? I'm just going to do a control Z, by the way.
So you're adding the subtotal after every provider name, so that will give you the same value as even if you don't add it.
Yeah. So
Add the subtotal.
what do you think I should do? Before I add the subtotal, the solution is subtotal. But before I add the subtotal, what should I do?
Provider, you can arrange it by increasing or decreasing order of provider ID, and then club a certain like from maybe say 23,000 to 23,020 or something like that.
Okay. So what and how do I do that?
You can sort it by provider ID, right? From increasing to
Yeah, I'll sort it by provider name because I'm summing it on provider change in provider name. So I have got this. Over here also my report is sorted by provider name, not by the ID. So I'm going to sort it by provider name and now I'll apply the subtotal. See, now it doesn't take that much time also. And when I click over here, you see this 1, 2, 3. It expands it. It gives me an overall subtotal. Alright. So this is what I'm getting. Allegiance Health 5883 2921 1713. Yeah, so this is what I've got over here also. Understood? I've easily got this subtotal which I was struggling with. I mean, it took us, obviously we wanted to learn all these formulas, which is why we took that route. But there is another way of building this as well. Can you try this? All right, done. Good. Whenever I unmute, the crow starts talking. So, right. Can you guys check if you have the formula Xlookup? Do you see the formula Xlookup in your?
Yes, sir, we have it.
I don't have.
Sorry. Okay. So like we. All right. But I just give you an idea of what is Xlookup. Like you have VLOOKUP, we are looking up a value. So when we had seen this, right? We had seen this over here. We had seen this option over here that when you are looking up, when you're using VLOOKUP, the value whatever we are looking up. Okay. It's a little bigger. I am looking up this I2 in this table array. The second option is a table array. And the drawback of this is if my value is like this, right? If I had in the way we had our data, we want to look up using the, where is it? Provider name, I want to look up provider ID, which is not possible because my table cannot go from left to right. Rather, it cannot go the opposite. It can go from right to left. It cannot go this way, right? My table has to start like this. It has to go towards right from E to H. It cannot go from E to D. If I take the table like this and I look up the provider name, it's not possible because my first column has to be this provider name has to be in this column. So that is the drawback of VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP. So Xlookup is the latest or probably a newer version of newest formula of in Excel. One of the latest formulas in Excel. It was recently, probably a year ago or so, it came in. And the way it works is something similar to what we saw in sum if or average if. Okay, I'm just going to show you one Xlookup. Okay, the lookup value is again I'm going to use Harry. Okay. I'm going to use Harry. What is my lookup array? My lookup array is this. I choose this. Harry. My lookup array is this. And what is my return array? What do I want to return? I want to return the value from here. And when I do this, I get the same thing. The benefit of this is even if my value is on the left or anywhere, I can use this Xlookup. Make sense? So if I try it on the provider name, which I had, I can try it on, right, for provider name, I wanted to get the provider ID. So if I do Xlookup, this is my provider name. What is my lookup array? My lookup array, this column. What is my lookup ID? This is my lookup, return array. This is my return array. So I get that same value. Understood? Those who have Xlookup, can you just try this? It's pretty simple. I mean, there are a lot of other parameters, if not found, then everything, but I am just showcasing the basic version. So were some of you able to try this? Let's look up. Okay. Now what do we do? So we've seen multiple options using which we can build this report. We've seen the option of creating this report, finding out this report as well. So we'll try one more option. Like I mentioned, we'll try and see if we can build the report using a pivot table. All right. So I'm going to go back to the data and I'm going to insert a pivot table. Inserted the pivot table. And over here I'm going to say report 1 method 3. Okay. Report 1 method 3. I have, what do I need first? Provider name. Okay. If I add provider ID, if I add provider state, it goes like this. It becomes like this. So let's not add the provider name, ID and state as of now. And I'm just going to add the total discharges, average covered charges. So I automatically again get that value what I'm looking for. And let's see what happens if I add provider city over here. And technically I'm going to get the same thing. I don't need to, I'm not easily able to get the provider ID and state over here. But again, like I mentioned, I can easily, for a particular hospital, I am easily able to find out the sum of total discharges and the sum of average covered charges using a pivot table as well. Can you quickly try this one? This should be easy. I'm going to try one more thing. I am adding provider state, right? We want to add provider ID and provider state. I go to design, report layout, show in tabular format. Line. Yeah. So I have got the same report that I wanted actually. All right. What I did, I went to design. Let's try and do this. This is the report that I have. I'll add provider ID. I will add provider state. I am getting the report, but I don't want it in this structure. I want it in the structure like this, or rather like this. Okay. So what I do, I go to design. I click on report layout and I say show in tabular format. So I see the columns. I see everything in columns. Provider name, provider ID, provider state, sum of total discharges, sum of average cover charges. I don't want these subtotals because it doesn't make sense. So I say do not show subtotals. So I get the output. And again, I can format this if I want to. I can actually format this the way I want to. I can just take this formatting and I do it over here. And I will get, I got the same report which I had created earlier. But I was able to do this very fast compared to what you were trying earlier. Let me know if you are able to get this or if you are facing any issues in getting this. I can even apply the conditional formatting by the way. That also I can just copy. Friday. So can you guys mention your name in the chat? I'll mark your attendance. Let me know if you are able to, if you got, if you faced any challenges. Was everybody able to get this pivot table? Ready. So what's easier? What was the easiest method? So Even in the subtotal, we were not, I mean, easily able to get these two values, but in the pivot, we were able to really figure out and get the other columns as well. So let's try one more thing before we close for today. Done quite a lot of stuff till now. Let's try and build a graph. Let's try and build one particular graph. What we are going to do is we are going to take this pivot code. I'm going to add a sheet. I'm going to say data for my graph, and I'm going to copy this. I'm not going to copy the entire thing. I'm just going to copy the, without the grand total, I'm going to copy that data. Otherwise, I believe the entire data will get copied. Okay. I'm going to sort this data by average covered charges. Sort this data by average covered charges. Largest to smallest, descending order. Okay. I have sorted this, and I am just going to plot. I'm going to draw a line graph with just one column at this point of time. Okay. So in order to draw a line graph, you go to insert, you see this option of charts. Okay, you see all these options of different charts which are there. So here you see this line chart. So here is a normal line chart. This is the same line chart but with markers. This is a line chart where you have two different values which are plotted. The only difference being I have, it's a stacked line chart. So I'll explain that as well. It's one above the other. So first of all, I'm going to add a column over here in between. So in order to add a column, Alt I C. So if I click or right click on this at the top, I can insert a column. The other way is to Alt I C. Shortcut Alt I C. If I want to insert a row, I do Alt I R. Alt plus I plus R. Or I click over here and insert. A row will get inserted above. But as of now, I'm just going to add a column over here and I'm going to give serial number. I'm just going to give a number, by the way, because I probably did not copy the number from the other sheet. 1, 2. And let's remove this. I go to insert. I insert line chart. Okay. So here when I see this, oops. Okay. When I see this line chart, let's probably remove this one for now. I am seeing the sum of average covered charges. It is going from the highest being 4.5 million, 4.1 million approximately, till this point. And the last point, which is approximately 0.01 million, which does not make sense. Yeah? Which is too low. So I added these numbers just because I have too many values. Ideally, what I should be doing is I should probably just showcase the top 5 or top 10 values. Okay, if I just showcase the top 10 values, when I look at the graph, it makes sense. I can compare the top 10 values. Right? I have drawn that line chart with just top 10 values. Now what I was talking about was I don't delete the other line. Yeah, I'm not going to delete the other line. I have my data like this. And now if I just drag that line, I can choose the top 10 values. But still this second line is not comparable. So what I do is I click on the second line, or rather click on any line, format, rather change series type. I will see this option over here, and I will make this total discharges on the secondary axis. When I make it on the secondary axis, I can see a different graph altogether. आ गया भाई, क्यों नहीं आया? Yeah, now I see that graph. So we'll again repeat this next time, but I just wanted to quickly show you a line graph and a dual line graph. Okay. If I change this to a stacked chart, I mean I can change this to a column chart as well if I want to, but we'll see that later. In this line graph, if I make it as stacked, it becomes a little different, it becomes a little weird actually. I'm not going to use that. We're just going to use this one for now. Did you get it? I have just shown this pretty quickly, but we will repeat this again next time. This is my data, this is my graph. When I click on this graph, I see the range. I can actually increase. If I can just drag this blue line, data will increase or decrease like this. I can drag it like this also if I want to. Right, that was a symbol of Batman, I think so. That's great. All right. Any questions, guys? We're almost out of time. Okay, so by the way, if I would request all of you to submit the first assignment, just email it to me, or yeah, I request you to do that before next time's lecture.
So first assignment as in the whole workbook which we are doing right now, or?
No, this I had given, right? This. I gave this assignment 1, right?
Yeah.
Where you just have to just submit this.
Okay, okay.
Okay. There will be a group assignment in the end. So I request you to form groups of 3 or 4 people each.
Okay.
Right? Thank you so much.
So, but there's no set method for this, no? Like we can use any of the methods, no? Which
Yeah,
from.
yeah, any method, whatever
Okay.
you like. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.